Good evening. This is video 6. If you didn't catch video 5, you might want to watch video 5 before you watch this one. This is the day I found my voice. Leadership lesson. In my last video, I talked about how I walked into Student Leadership Academy, quiet, guarded, not wanting to talk to anyone. I'd gone through a lot that year. Lost my grandfather, stepdad to cancer, and my best friend, who was a sister to me. Had my walls up. But there was a mentor in that program named Willard who started working with me after every session, week after week. He helped me open up and start thinking differently about leadership, goals, and my future. There was a change and a moment during that program where I realized something had actually changed. It happened during a leadership exercise near the end of the program. Well, let's set the scene a little bit. Final activity we did in Student Leadership Academy, was a survival scenario. This exercise went like this. Imagine your plane crashes in the Canadian wilderness. You're stranded and you have a limited number of items to survive. So you're in a group of people. You have barely any items and you had no idea you're going to be stranded out in the severe cold in the middle of a blizzard. Things like matches, mirror, rope, food rations, newspaper, magazines, different survival tools. And you had to figure out what would you do first and categorize them from first to last. So your group had to work together and decide which items were most important and rank them in order, like I told you, of priority. The purpose of this exercise wasn't really survival. It was leadership and communication. Key point, two things, leadership and communication. But you also got to divulge in that a little bit. There's also problem solving and how the group makes decisions. So, the group. We were randomly assigned to a group by drawing names out of a hat. So there was a leader, and then there was the followers. You didn't get to pick who was what. So you had to work with whatever you ended up with. And someone in each group had to take the lead in organizing the conversation. In our group, one of the girls, she said she didn't want to lead. But we talked her into it. She's the type that didn't want to lead. Well, maybe it's your time to do it. But she kind of stepped up and she took care of the responsibility. Now, the quiet guy moment. Now, remember, just a few weeks ago, I was the quiet guy sitting in the room with my arms crossed, not saying anything. I wouldn't talk. I didn't participate. I just sat there. During this exercise, something started happening. People began discussing which items would come first. I started thinking about it. I spoke up. I'm no survival expert, but I was a beginning hunter. I've been out there for a little bit, hunting on my own. I spent some time outdoors, and I understand some basic survival priorities. Things like shelter, warmth, signaling for help, conserving energy. So as people started discussing the items, some things made sense to me. For the first time in that room, I spoke up. The leadership moment. I started explaining why certain things would be more important than others. Things like signaling tools would be more valuable than certain supplies. Why conserving warmth would matter more than something that's looked useful wouldn't help you survive long term. And something interesting happened. The group listened. People started adding their own ideas because they were thinking about it. We collaborated. We worked together. We communicated. We led together. It no longer wasn't about one person being right or one person leading. It was about everyone working together to figure out the best answer. We all became leaders. The result: when the exercise ended, the instructors compared each group's answers to the correct survival ranking. And something surprising happened. Out of all the classes that had ever done that exercise before us, no group ever passed it or survived. But our group did. We were the first group to successfully complete the survival scenario. Think about that. The realization. And in that moment, something clicked for me. Just a few weeks earlier, I wouldn't have said a word. I would have sat there quietly and let everyone else do the talking. But because of the conversations I had with Willard, my mentor, my leader, I started finding my voice. The leadership lesson. That exercise taught me something important about leadership. Leadership isn't about being the loudest person in the room. It's not about having all the answers. Sometimes leadership is simply having the courage to speak up when you have something valuable to contribute. I want to read that one more time. Sometimes leadership is simply having the courage to speak when you have something valuable to contribute. The ripple effect. After the Student Leadership Academy ended, many of us stayed connected. We created a group text, continued supporting one another. It was an incredible group of people. And Willard brought it all together for us. The bigger reflection. When I first walked into that classroom, I didn't know who I was becoming. I carried grief. I carried a lot of anger. I was unsure about my future. But mentorship, leadership lessons, and the people around me helped me bring out a version of myself that I didn't even know existed. In closing, that wilderness exercise may have seemed like a small moment or something silly for some people. But for me, it was a moment I realized something that had changed. I wasn't the quiet guy in the room anymore. And that was just the beginning of a much bigger journey. That journey continues today. And that journey Just a long way up.